Hey, what's up guys, TechTime here, and before I begin this video, I want to thank you all so much for watching. I really do appreciate all your support. So with that being said, if you haven't subscribed, make sure you do so, and if you haven't liked this video, go ahead and leave a thumbs up. It helps out the channel quite a bit. So with that being said, today I'm going to be sharing with you guys my experience with using the Samsung Galaxy A36 now that it's been out for over a month. So I've been a user, I don't want to say consistently, but I have been using this phone on and off for the past month. And so essentially I'm making this video to share my experience with you guys. I'm not going to dive too deep into technical specs or anything crazy like that. I'll leave that for my video that I did about this phone when I used it for 3 days. But basically, beginning with the design itself, I want to say that this is definitely, I don't want to say it's a whole new design from the previous generation, but it's definitely brings in some nice refinements that make the experience of the way this phone looks and feels slightly better. And so one of the refinements that they made is within the camera module itself, the way that it looks. So instead of having 3 different separate rings to it, they just put it all together in this kind of oval shape that I guess, again, adds a refined change to the design of the phone. Now it does protrude quite a bit, so keep that in mind. So setting it on a flat surface is just not going to happen. And the back still gives this similar glossy material that we've seen within Samsung devices. And another refined change that I really made a big difference in my opinion is the power button volume up and down. That little crease where it leads up to these buttons is smaller. While it keeps the same nice look, it now makes it a little bit easier for me to actually click the button without having that crease protrude on my experience. Now, you still don't get a headphone jack with this phone, but that is, it just is what it is at that point. You get a much faster charging speed with the USB-C port, so it did charge really quickly with a supported wall adapter and a supported cord. And the speaker on the bottom sounds slightly better than the previous generation as well. Although from a design perspective, this phone did bring in, again, nice refinements that made the experience really nice. So for $399, it still gets a thumbs up in my book. Now that it's also been a month, I still think that this display is one of the best displays that I've used on a phone for that $399 price point. And you can also, by the way, get the phone cheaper if you find it at other carriers that have certain deals going on. But essentially, this display is a 1080p Super AMOLED display that gets insanely bright for a phone at this price point. So I really tried to kind of test out the display, see how much I can push it in a highly lit environment. And so my camera, I'd have to kind of basically adjust the exposure on my camera because it was so bright outside. But this display handled this brightness with no problem. So definitely when it comes to outdoor conditions, this phone is going to handle it like a champ. And I have to say that it also checks in all the boxes of a solid 2025 display. So you get the AMOLED screen, you get a decently sharp display, and you also get the 120 Hz refresh rate that come with it, which makes the experience overall much enjoyable. So watching videos, going through social media, using the phone app, messaging, anything that would essentially require you to use the phone will be an enjoyable experience because of this display. Also, from a performance perspective, this phone has been consistently decent. I think the biggest downside of this phone is going to be in the performance, but that wasn't a big deal. So it still provided a nice sizable battery, a decent processor, and a fair amount of RAM. So the starting storage for this phone is 128 gigs, which I've seen a lot of phones nowadays adapt to 256 gigabyte starting storage, but that wasn't a big deal, to be honest with you. Anything that would essentially have a kind of launching your basic apps like your phone app, messaging app, your browser, your basic needs is going to be quick and fast on this phone, and it still kept that same momentum now that it's been out for a month. And I do have to say that as far as sort of heating issues and things like that, when I did push this phone from a gaming perspective and a multitasking perspective, it did get warm, but it didn't get hot. So keep that in mind. The battery life on here is also pretty solid. You will get through a whole day for kind of medium to heavy use, but I wouldn't push it if you're consistently gaming on this phone. Then obviously you're going to have to top it off before the end of the day. So keep that in mind as from a performance perspective. Now I want to flip the page and talk about the camera experience, which I did a full camera review. I'll leave it linked in the description below. But basically the camera experience on this phone is good. And that's basically what I have to say. It's not the greatest, but it's not really horrible. It does provide some nice features, even from a video perspective, where you can shoot a video using your rear camera, switch seamlessly between the main sensor to the wide angle sensor, and even switch to the selfie camera, all while taking the same video. So it does a pretty good job in that regard. And if you want more details on the camera experience, I'll leave it linked in the description below, so keep that in mind. So overall though, this phone has definitely been a solid buy. Now, would I recommend it? I'd say wait a little bit longer just so the price can basically calm down a little bit. $399 I think is slightly a little bit too much. I think like $350 or $299 would be perfect for this phone, because it still is missing a couple of things like wireless charging and I guess proper redesign. But with that being said, I want to hear from you guys, and I want to thank you all so much for watching, and I'll definitely catch you guys in the next one.